Unfortunately, after just meeting you, I have to say goodbye. Mr. DeLong, let me present you with a golden turkey.
Oh, thank you. My very first Revenge-giving trophy.
Your very first trophy on the channel.
It's actually my first trophy ever for playing 40K, believe it or not.
Well, we got to change that. We got to change that.
I have some painting trophies. I have a small collection of painting trophies because I've gotten some from Armies on Parade and Trip C GT last year.
Mhm.
I've never actually gotten a trophy. I've won a bunch of RTTs, but never did well at a GT to the point where I got a trophy. So this is actually my first ever trophy.
Well, congratulations. 40K. And with that, a final score.
I had to buy it myself.
A final score. Almost said Necrons.
Nope.
Grey Knights 90, DeathGuard 99.
Mm-hmm.
I want to move him because he's a hefty. He's a chunky bird.
It's wobbly model.
He's a good bird. He's a good sized bird.
Yeah.
All right, so there's not much to say about this in a lot of aspects. I mean, we nearly both maxed out points over this, 99 to 90.
There's a weird combination of missions because there's a generally high scoring
primary and secondary,
and then a very high scoring secondary. Because I think we both went over. No, I was one shy of. I had 39 on secondary. You probably went a couple points over the 40, 42 or 43. So it's very high scoring.
Right, and that's the interesting part about this is like for my list, I played very, very strong into the secondary. As seen, I scored over on secondary.
Mm-hmm.
Primary, I can do decent on though. A 40 on primary on this, no issues there, no problems there. You know, I was able to.
90 is a pretty good score.
It is like 90 wins most games.
Yeah,
realistically. The issue was, for me, the fact that you were able to get 3 cards. Because you were able to get 3 cards to score on, you had a plethora. How many times you get to use that word in a day? A plethora of options to score points. So even though in some turns you couldn't score very well, if the stars aligned, bam, you score 15 here, 50. I mean, that was what it was. You had just big hits. So that, to me, in hits that made it that you scored over 10 points a turn, which typically, with most of them, with 2, you're looking at 10 points a turn unless you see a good deploy, teleport home, or what was it? Scramblers.
Yeah, capture enemy outposts.
Capture enemy outposts.
Investigate signals.
Bring it down.
And then bring it down are all there, capped at 8. So
right. But then, you know, we were able to hold those secondaries and kind of pivot them out. I mean, you did that with
investigate signals. Turn 1, I was almost going to score it for 2 points, and then figured I'd hold on to turn 2 when I could deep strike my Gribblies. My Nurglings could deep strike in and score me that better, so I actually held off on that so I could score more the next turn.
Right, yeah. So, I mean, and that was the thing. It's like not being able to, like my army did, again, the max secondaries, not being able to have you slow down on secondaries at all, that was too much. And then, like you said, with the primary game, you were able to you had two 15 turns. The one going second, and which is tough. I knew that right off rip. I was thinking in my mind, I'm like, okay, you were looking at a 45 on primaries immediately. As long as you held 2 objectives, you were going to get that 15 at the end of the game. And you ended up getting a 15 in the middle of the game. And I wasn't able to push you back because of your threat in combat. So that was a little rough. But all in all, there's like, in this, it's like, oh, if I could have done this, if I would have went here, if I would have done that, I don't necessarily feel like I would have changed any of the ways I played things. Like, I can look back on a couple of things and go, maybe I could have done this, maybe I could have done that. But I don't think there was anything like super game breaking. The only thing that I could see that I might change, minor, very minor, was the strike squad that I had over there. I probably earlier on, like 1 turn prior, once that dreadnought committed to the middle, I should have probably moved them out to get them in position so that into this turn where everything that went down and what happened, I could have auto advanced them 6, move 6, 12-inch move, been on the objective with a higher thread count. And that would have been able to stop your area denial. It wouldn't have stopped you flipping the objective because you flipped it over here as well too. But that would have at least stopped that area denial, which I knew was a potential of a thing to come, as well as you flipping the objective. Now, hindsight of flipping the objective, if I would have had that much of a mass on there, I could have true silvered over here. That's the only thing I can think that it may have needed to play into the potential of those secondaries a little bit more. And that's the only thing I could say that maybe, just maybe, but there are so many cards flipping.
Yeah, I think if you're being super competitive with this game, you can keep track of you can do a little checklist of all the secondaries.
Oh yeah, you do
My
it off the
opponent
app.
pulled this. My opponent pulled this. My opponent pulled this. I know because we're burning through so many. I know what my opponent has left and may be able to play against that in the late game.
I do have that in my mind. I honestly just thought I was going to be able to get them out. I didn't really think about it, like needing to get them over there. I wasn't thinking about that with like, oh, Dread Knight goes in there, Crash takes his, blah, blah, blah. I wasn't thinking about the overwhelming force. That was the one. And that's also what the app does. If you use the BCP scoring app, that will that it tracks those, which secondaries have hit and which turns. So that's a way that you can keep track and know what your opponent may or may not.
This is my app.
That's not an app. That's paper.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not even going to come up with something cute. That is paper.
Before the apps.
But that is a way you can do it as well.
No, it's a good sales point for the app. The fact that if it's keeping track for you of which secondaries have been pulled. A lot of times, if you're just doing 2 per turn, it's kind of hard to guess what's going to come in the end. But the way this particular mission special rule plays, it would definitely come into play because you need a counter near the end. Because again, it's a high scoring one. So any way you can shave a few points off your opponent's score is going to make a big difference.
Right. So now for you, the DeathGuard, this is your first time playing this more competitive style list. Walk us through. How'd it feel?
It felt pretty good, though there was still some times when I was limited in mobility a bit because you're Grey Knights. So it's not like I could leave my home field, my deployment zone objective unattended because I needed to be able to. And that's why I kept two Plague Burst Crawlers on there, and just so you could not deep strike on it and try and block you out from, even if you deep struck and charged onto it, I'd still have those 2 models there. You wouldn't be able to fit that many models on it. So I felt like I was missing out on mobility. 2 of my Brigands died relatively early, and they are a 12-inch move, so I was missing their mobility a bit. Obviously, their damage output as well, because they would just burn through squads, 5-man squads of Marines. But I definitely felt that I was winning a little bit more mobility. But I like the damage output. I like its durability. And in this matchup, you were just planking me by not getting close to me. So really, I didn't do that much fighting, but it still managed to, hold on till the end and have enough assets to play through turn 5. So I think you did the right thing by not fighting my Plague Marines very much. Because obviously, if you charge them, they would get to fight first. Because that's what they do. So that's what the Foul Blight Spawn does for him. So
both sides of the mission got me in this matchup, and honestly, that's going to happen sometimes. You're going to run into a situation where a mission favors or doesn't favor you. If like last week we did there's the one where you can only score a maximum of 10. Well, in that case, I would have played it. This would have been fine because I scored 10 every turn. You would have scored 10 every turn. At the end, I would have still had 2 objectives, score additional 10, so I would have capped at 50. And you would have capped at 50 because you were able to get those 15. So in that case, now we switch this over the other way, and now it's a 100-99 win for Grey Knights, just all because of one mission change. For you, because you have you have a stronger offensive combat presence, close combat presence, with those 2 units that are able to fight first, even when they get charged. It was difficult to get the center objective away from you. And at the same time, it was still difficult to get over to the side objective and securely take it because you still had rhinos covered out the backfield. Crow and company went down a little quicker than I was hoping. I was hoping to have a couple more in there. You did hit them. I wouldn't say hot, but above average. And when I'm saying above average, I'm saying like 52 to 55%. Like just a little bit over that. Maybe instead of there being 3 guys left, maybe there should have been 5. questionable there. But
well, it's just one of the rhinos are surprisingly good in Death Guard for a couple of reasons. But among them, they have a fair amount of shooting. They have
Mhm,
two basically storm bolters on them, but they're Death Guard storm bolters, so they have lethal hits.
mhm,
So sixes hit are generating automatically wounding you. If you're in contagion range, your guys go down to T3. So I'm wounding you on threes, and with the Havoc launcher in there, I can easily get 12 or 13 shots into a big unit like that.
mhm.
And it's just because your armor is affected, and because lethal hits and wounding on threes, you're going to fail. It's going to kill a couple guys. The Rhino usually
Right.
doesn't kill much, but the Death Guard Rhino, after your armor's been reduced, and because it just has a lot of volume of shots, it does that. And I also like the fact that I can zoom it out on the table, and it's spreading that contagion. It's spreading the sickness.
Right.
So it's another way to to support my shooting units by actually getting the rhinos close to make you sick.
Right. And that's and that was definitely efficient. I didn't like, but I like and don't like at the same time. It worked. It did what it did
Yeah.
what you envisioned that it was going to do. And there's not a lot of armies that really, I mean, yeah, a rhino's somewhat easy to pop with anti-tank weaponry. Yes. But there's also other options and other things you have to hit. In this case, my Land Raider being my anti armor option needed to answer the armigers, the dogs. It needed to go at them and take them out.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of wish I would have dropped one on turn one. That would have been definitely helpful or not turn one, the second turn when you brought them out. When you brought them out on one in my turn two. I was kind of disappointed. I thought I got one.
That's always. I mean, they have a 5-up embalm.
Yeah.
So
that's gonna be a chance. It's always a
that's
chance
easy to
that's just
spike.
that pops.
It's easy to spike on that. So
It is, and then it just stopped. So no, that was more just like, oh man, I didn't get that. And then they were able to hurt the Land Raider, which I'm glad. I kind of said it beforehand. I was like, I feel like the Land Raider is very, very tough and durable into this matchup, and it was. It took work to take him out. Dread Knight was kind of frumpy. He really got hit. This matchup, he made me start kind of looking at him a little bit, but he survived till the end of the game and made a lot of critical plays in places. So I think the one still sticks around. Definitely fine with not having the other ones.
The fact that he can advance and charge is
I think that if I had
you do so much teleporting that puts you to 9-inch charges. The fact that he can advance and charge, move 14 inches on his advance and charge.
Yes.
Yeah, it lets you take an objective early in the game. It lets you you auto advance your 6, and then you get to charge afterwards. So you can auto advance 14 on an objective early in the game, and then get off those long charges. So I think he's definitely a good utility. And Tank Shock is so strong.
Oh yeah.
You picked up the
Dread Knight without even smacking.
Yeah, the Hellbrute. You picked him up without even swinging. So
almost was able to pile into the Rhino. If I would have looked at that a little bit better, I could have piled into that Rhino probably. If I would have I probably should have went to the other side. I probably could have made it into that Rhino. But on this, I only rolled like a 6, so I may not have had enough. But I was close to getting into that Rhino too, and then just smacking the Rhino with a hammer, and then bam, both of those. Now you don't get area denial. You don't get once again. But all in all, I'm pretty satisfied with it. Purge. I want to think about the Purge a little bit, just because I want to look through stuff. I wouldn't mind just kind of finding a little bit of another strong combat scalpel, but I don't really see one. But I'm going to look at that a little bit and see if there might be something in there that I can find and pick up. Voldus is an option, but I don't know if I want to go down more characters. I don't really think I want to do that. So the Purge might stay in. I think they did fine for what they are. How about you? Is there anything that you thinking about changing? You're going to leave it alone, play it a little more?
I don't know. Another deep striking unit would be good. Having room for another squad of Nurglings or even just a deep striking Terminator character to get out there on an objective. I'll play around with the list a little bit. I mean, I think it's pretty solid as it is. So I'll play around with a little bit. But I love the War Dogs. They're really strong. If you had not killed them so early, they would have just, like I said, they would. Do
you think you need 3?
I don't know. I feel like I do want 3 just for redundancy purposes. And they're OC8, so they move 12 inches, OC8, and then they shoot really well. So I think for 160 points, I could swap that out for another Plague Burst Crawler, but I need to be able to play up the board more.
Yeah, and I was actually going to say in the opposite. Would you think that the Gatling dropped the Gatling for the claw or the blades?
Yeah.
No, not have that combat.
No, I
option.
mean my combat threat is the Death Guard units. I might try and do one big 10-man Death Guard, break 3 10-mans instead of the 2 10-mans and the 2 5s, just to preserve that combat threat there. But
I think you could do it with the 3 10-mans if you get the 3rd Nurgling squad in there. I think without the Nurglings, you need those extra 5 little guys to be able to do stuff like that. Maybe I could be wrong. But that's just how I kind of feel with it. I mean, it's might be a way. So, all right. Well, I will give you the final closing moments of this.
yeah, my gobbler.
Oops, I dropped it.
Oh no, not the plastic trophy. All right.
Don't sell yourself short. You worked very hard for that. Well, that is it. So now next year, you have the trophy. So sometime over the course of this year, the following calendar year, January moving on, when we have a match that I will go and say, you know what? I didn't like the outcome of that. I want a rematch. And we may have some rematches throughout the year, but there's going to be one major one. And I'm coming for your trophy.
Yeah.
I'm coming for it. Next month, we'll get another one set up. We're looking for a little bit of a Christmas theme. Guys, please leave it down in the comments section for ideas for a Christmas theme for this. We do have one kind of idea on the table, unless someone else throws it out there. And even so, if we do get a better idea, we have a great one for sometime in the future. Sometime in the future, that's going to be a blast. And it's going to be ridiculous how it happens. So, all right, guys. Lane, anything from you?
No, I think we're good. That's that.
All right, guys. Well, as always, thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you again soon.